Now, piracy charges have been dropped against a group of detained Greenpeace activists in Russia. Federal investigators say that the activists will now face lesser charges of hooliganism. Their ship was seized in Arctic waters on September the 18th, when the activists staged a protest on a Russian-owned oil rig. All have since been held in custody. Let's go live now to Al Jazeera's David Chater in the Russian capital, Moscow. David, the hooliganism charges, though, still carrying potentially very long prison sentences.
Yes, that's right. There's been a statement from the Greenpeace spokesman here in Moscow, Vladimir Chuprov, and he says that the Arctic 30 are no more hooligans than they were pirates. He said the charges are still widely disproportionate and more to do with fantasy than they are to do with the facts. The Arctic 30 were mounting a simple protest, he was saying. Now, hooliganism is exactly the charges that were brought against the Pussy Riot Band, and they can be a heavy sentence, a prison sentence, a maximum of 7 years. But the judge does have discretion to levy a fine instead, to make them do community service, or to suspend the sentence, or to give them 2 years, 3 years, something under the maximum sentence in detention. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what it really means. This is a real change in attitude for the Kremlin. President Putin did say a week ago that the Arctic 30 were clearly not pirates, so we were expecting a development of this sort. But it's still, as Greenpeace have said, a very heavy charge to bring against the Arctic 30.
All right, David Chase live for us in Moscow. I want to take you now to Ben Aliff. He's the head of the Arctic campaign for Greenpeace and joins me on the phone line now from Copenhagen. I want your initial reaction, first of all, Mr. Aliff. How do you feel about the developments? Relief?
Well, not really, because this is still a wildly disproportionate charge that carries up to 7 years in jail. The Arctic 30 in Murmansk are no more hooligans than they were pirates. So it still stands that this, that what we're seeing from the Russians is, assault on the principle of the peaceful protest. And all our people did was to try and shine a light on what is an exceptionally reckless business up in the Arctic. And the idea that they could possibly face 7 years, possibly even some of them 10 years, isn't making us do cartwheels down the street. It's still exceptionally severe.
Presumably, though, your people knew the situation they were getting into, trying to board a Russian-owned oil rig, and that they would be breaking some sort of laws, some sort of Russian laws, and that they would end up in court.
Well, I think it's the issue here is proportionality. It could be that there are laws that we've broken, but what is absolutely clear is that the Arctic 30 were not pirates under Russian and international law. And they're certainly not hooligans. If you look at the legislation, nothing we did carried the threat of violence. There was no attempt to take over the platform. This was a peaceful protest. Greenpeace has existed for over 40 years on the guiding Quaker principles of peaceful protest, non-violence, and bearing witness. The action that my friends and colleagues in Murmansk took against this platform were entirely reasonable when you think of the risk that this thing poses to the Arctic. And I'm afraid the response that we've seen from the Russian authorities was wholly disproportionate.
Have the activists actually heard the news that they're now going to be charged with hooliganism rather than piracy? And what sort of reaction has there been from them?
Well, we haven't been able to confirm this, as far as I know, with the people inside the jail in Murmansk, and that is really because of the time of day. They're a few hours ahead of us here, but also the communication flow between our team in Murmansk through the lawyers takes a bit of time. But obviously, we will be doing that as quickly as possible. And I should just say that, of course, we have been speaking to the family, the friends, and the loved ones of the Arctic 30 around the world to tell them this news as a matter of urgency.
Ben Aliff, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.